Let me be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of river cruising. Jay loves it, I really don't. And that's not for a lack of trying. I've been on 6 river cruises with 3 different companies on 3 different rivers. I've really tried to love it, but there are some fundamental flaws I can't forgive. This isn't a hit piece. This isn't me saying river cruising is bad. It's me saying river cruising works brilliantly for a very specific type of traveller. It works badly for others. Jay and I are a really good example of this divide. We usually like the same ships, the same destinations, the same style of travel. We're married, for goodness sake. We have lots in common. Yet when it comes to river cruising, we come away with completely different feelings. Jay feels relaxed, I feel constrained. Jay loves river cruising because it removes friction. There are no crowds, there are no queues, you're never fighting for space. You're never having to worry if you'll be able to get a seat in the restaurant or the lounge. You don't have to plan your day around embarkation windows or worrying about getting tender tickets. You wake up, look out the window, and you're already somewhere interesting. Dock next to a shopping centre, a stunning castle that looks like it's from a postcard. No coaches unless you want them, no excursions unless you choose them. You can walk off, you can wander, you can stop for a coffee whenever you fancy. Jay loves the peace, he loves the serenity, he loves the simplicity, and I share that love for those things too. I love window watching, I love being docked right in the heart of ports, not miles away like you are with many ocean cruise ships. So when people say, why don't you like river cruising? The honest answer is this: I like parts of it very much, but those parts are outweighed by what I feel is lacking, because river cruising gives you freedom at very specific moments and then takes it away from you just as quickly. Meals are timed, spaces are open when you're told, activities exist only if they're scheduled. If you fall outside of that structure, the experience stops working for you. River cruising rewards people who like routine. It frustrates people who like to be spontaneous. And once you start noticing it, you can't unsee it. Let's talk about the biggest problem: food. We've just spent 6 nights sailing the Christmas markets on the Danube from Vienna, and before anyone jumps to conclusion, let me be clear, this is not about food quality. The food on river cruises is genuinely good or excellent. The galleys are using good, locally sourced ingredients. The problem is always choice. If you're adventurous with food, if you're happy to try something once, you'll be fine. River cruising caters to people who are flexible with what they eat, but it struggles badly with anyone who isn't. And that matters because this is not a cheap vacation, and there are plenty of people who are fussy with what they eat. On our most recent cruise, we were travelling with Jay's parents. Jay's mum's a vegetarian, Jay's dad hates seafood. That shouldn't be an issue on a holiday or vacation that is sold as a premium or luxury cruise experience. Yet night after night, it became one. In the evenings, you're usually offered 2 starters. For mains, you might get 4 options. Most nights, there is only 1 vegetarian main. One option is not choice. If you don't like it or it doesn't suit you, the alternative is effectively go without. That doesn't seem fair and that doesn't feel premium. On ocean cruises, if there's nothing on the menu you like, something usually happens. A waiter offers to make an omelette or a cheese toastie or something simple, something to show that they care and that it wouldn't be right for you to leave the dining room hungry. But even if that didn't happen, you have options. You can go to the buffet, you can order room service, you can grab a slice of pizza or a burger, or you can go to the shops and purchase some very expensive Pringles and Cadbury's, something to sustain you through the night. On a river cruise, none of that exists. If it's 10 o'clock at night, you're hungry and the ship is sailing, tough. No late night venue, no room service, no casual eatery, no vending machine, no shop selling snacks, and obviously no delivery to the ship. You're on your own. I like knowing that if I need food or drink, whatever time it is, I can get something. That safety net simply does not exist in river cruising currently. Repetition really doesn't help either. We've cruised with Viva 4 times on 3 different rivers. The menus haven't changed at all. Our most recent Danube sailing aboard Viva Joy, we didn't eat a single dish we hadn't already eaten on previous trips. At some point, familiarity stops becoming comforting and starts becoming boring. Viva does a gala night. Every time we've attended, it's been the same menu. 2 of the courses are mushroom ravioli and mushroom Wellington. Neither Jay nor I like mushrooms. Every single time we've skipped those courses, and every single time, no alternative is offered by the waiter or the galley. We just sit there and wait for everybody else to finish their meals before we get to the next course. That would never happen on an ocean cruise. On ocean ships, from our experience, the mindset is always to make sure you don't leave the dining room hungry or dissatisfied. To be fair, river cruising does get some things right with food. We really like what lines like Viva and Amadeus do with afternoon tea. The ice cream afternoon teas are in the main lounge and are good. They're social, they're relaxed, they feel like an event, and they're genuinely well executed. But even here, variety is limited. An afternoon tea usually happens one day on a 7-night cruise. The rest of the time, nothing replaces it, which feels inadequate. This is an expensive vacation. If I'm paying the same as everybody else on board, I should be choosing from the same number of options as they are. That's fair, right? This isn't just about food though. When you can't eat when you're hungry, when you can't choose what you eat, and when there is no fallback, you don't feel relaxed, you feel constrained. That's why dining is the first thing that desperately needs to change in river cruising. The next major problem is entertainment and staying busy. Because for what river cruising costs, usually between £2,000 and £3,000 per week, I expect more than this. I don't need it to be louder or flashier, I just need more. Most river cruise ships have one main lounge. This is where talks happen, this is where entertainment happens, this is where afternoon tea happens. And for the most part of the day, it does absolutely nothing. It sits empty, quiet, unused, wasted as a venue really. Let me give you a real example of one of the daily schedules on our most recent sailing with Viva Cruises. In the morning, the only thing scheduled in the main lounge was a disembarkation briefing at 11 o'clock. That's it. Then nothing until 6:45 p.m. in the evening for a farewell cocktail, followed by music at 9 for an entire day. That is not a daily programme, that is an absence of one. Why is the lounge not being used for quizzes, bingo games, port talks and guest speakers each day? Sometimes river cruise lines do invite local speakers on board, but it's rare. On the same Viva Enjoy sailing, a Slovakian band was invited on board when the ship docked in Bratislava. They were excellent, but it happened once. Why not something in Budapest? Why not something in Vienna? Two of Europe's greatest cultural capital cities, and nothing on board to reflect them. Most evenings feel painfully repetitive. A pianist, quiet background music. That's it. That's fine occasionally, but every night, come on. Not every passenger wants to read a book while slowly dribbling into their Horlicks. For the price being charged, there needs to be more. I'm begging for it. Take Viva as an example. You can sit in the lounge whenever you want, but you can't order a coffee or a drink until 10 in the morning. Jay and I are early risers, especially since having Sailor, who is our fluffy little alarm. We like to start our days replying to emails, and we like to start our day with a proper coffee. Yes, there's a coffee machine in the lobby, but we want a coffee made by a human being, somebody who knows what a good coffee is. And we're not expecting it for free. If Viva said between 6 and 10, coffees are chargeable, fine, we'd happily pay. That's choice. Instead, the answer is simply no. Make do with the coffee machine or the kettle in your cabin until then. On many river cruises, the ship sails around 6 in the evening and moves overnight. That immediately removes the ability to dine ashore. And dining ashore is something we love doing on river cruises. We want to experience local cuisine. We want to support local businesses. And when the ship sails in the evening, it makes the onboard dining problem even worse. You're locked into one menu at one time with no escape route. River cruising suits people who like routine. Meals at set times, activities at set ports, ports at set times, coffee at set times. If that suits you, you'll absolutely love it. If you're spontaneous in life and don't live your lives to a schedule, you'll struggle to adapt. Because river cruising won't adapt to you. Not at the moment anyway. Since the early 2000s, river cruising has exploded. It's grown fast. Really fast. The ocean cruise industry is forecast to grow around a further 8% between now and 2029, compared to 11% for river cruising. There's a reason why river cruise ships have to dock side by side at every port. It's because there's too many ships and not enough docks. More and more companies have entered the market, more ships launching every year, and they just keep coming. But here's the problem. Despite all that growth, river cruising hasn't really evolved. No river cruise line has a genuine USP beyond being wider than others or more glitzy and more luxurious. They're all offering broadly the same thing. The same onboard layouts, the same dining model, the same regimented daily structure, the same lack of choice, variety. And that's frustrating for cruisers that love a lot of what river cruising offers, but fall short in some very important areas. At the moment, the river cruise industry is one that plays it safe, very safe. There doesn't seem to be any line that wants to be the first to offer radically different dining, rethink onboard life, loosen the regimented structure, or give guests more control. Now, we're not anti-river cruising. We're actively looking for a river cruise line that feels different. And that's why we're genuinely interested to see what celebrity cruisers do with river cruising. The Edge class ships weren't about bigger slides or louder attractions. They were about rethinking space, rethinking dining, rethinking how guests use a ship. So the question is simple. Are celebrity going to bring the same rethinking to river cruising? If any brand has the opportunity to do something genuinely different on the rivers, it's celebrity. And if they don't, then it's a clear sign that river cruising as an industry is more interested in protecting the status quo than pushing forward and evolving it. So here's our honest verdict. River cruising isn't broken, but it's becoming a bit stagnant. It grew fast, probably a bit too fast. It filled the rivers with ships and then stopped evolving. The ships are newer than ever, the prices are higher than ever, and yet the experience on board feels largely unchanged. That disconnect matters because growth without innovation eventually catches up with you, and we think that is starting to happen with many cruisers now. This is why we're watching what celebrity cruisers do so closely. Not because they're guaranteed to get it right, but because if anyone has the chance to rethink river cruising, it's them. They've done it at sea. The question is whether they'll be brave enough to do it on the rivers, and whether the rest of the industry will finally be forced tools to respond to competition. River cruising doesn't lack quality, it lacks the courage to do things differently.